about grief today. I'm here at the ocean, and this is a special place for me that I come to get clear, to get centered, to talk to Great Mother, Great Spirit, and I always feel the Spirit's very alive here. I think in my maternal line, my grandmother and my mother used to always go to the ocean, especially when they felt like they needed more grounding, or even when they felt troubled. I think for many of us, it's like the Great Mother embodied in nature here. So I just invite you to come with me and be held by the ocean, the Mother Ocean, the Great Mother, as we talk a little bit about grief and some of the things that may be coming up that you can do. So I'm going to read to you a little bit from Wild Feminine. And, this comes from when I first started working in the female body. I felt this weight and this heaviness that I didn't really know what it was. And when I understood more about energy patterns later, I came to recognize it as grief. And our body energy as women is supposed to flow through us like a river, but oftentimes because we haven't been taught properly, first of all, how to move energy in our bodies, how to connect, ground, root, move things through, use the power of our energies. We've been disconnected from earth and nature cycles, and also just not taught properly how to grieve, or even what the process of grief is, or what grief is energetically, and what it means for us as women. And I'll read you a little bit about that, but that's all hindsight. At the time, I would just feel this heaviness, I wonder what it was, and so women end up being the storehouse of grief instead of, and passing it generationally instead of moving things through. And this is an important time, because whenever you're in a transition time, grief arises, and it's meant to be something that we process and move through so that it strips away what we no longer need so we can move into the next phase. And if we're congested and haven't really cleared our grief, it lands like a heavy stone, and it takes you down emotionally, energetically. And so there's some processes to this that I've learned. So I'm going to read a little bit and share a little bit that will hopefully help you. So this is from page 189 in Wild Feminine, and it's called Grief, Lighten Your Load. Initially, I was surprised by the depth of grief I encountered while working in the root of the female body. As I came to understand the capacity of the female body for holding energy, particularly the energy of unrecognized events and feelings, these vast reservoirs of grief made sense. Unless there are rituals or other means to channel the energy of grief, it sits like a stone in a woman's pelvis. From the degree of unaddressed emotions I encounter in the pelvic space, I know that women are presently carrying much of the grief on behalf of their families, and this is generational, so we can say many generations of grief get kind of layered in. This is particularly true because, in general, Western culture lacks rituals for acknowledging and releasing the energy of grief. As the energy keeper in a family, a woman holds the energy of those around her. A woman's bodily grief, potentially arising from many individuals, not just herself, and we can say many generations, becomes a burden. Without the ritual or collective acknowledgement and release of grief, women carry that energy. Any unexpressed emotional energy requires a woman to hold tension in her body, which interferes with her ability to feel at ease in her core. A collection of unexpressed grief decreases a woman's presence in her root, limiting her creative expression and capacity for intimate relationships. A woman's own radiance is dimmed by the energy required to maintain a storehouse of grief. After witnessing a change in a woman's pelvis energetically and physically when she releases this stored grief, I have seen the potential that lies in relinquishing this weight. It is surprising and delightful that when grief held in the female body is acknowledged, it begins to move out of a woman's core. The heavy sensation of held grief lifts. When the womb is lighter, a woman's creative center is available to mother her own creations or even herself. When a woman attends to her grief, she discovers where to lighten her load. So the question could be, well, how do you lighten the load, and how do you move this grief? That's where ritual comes in, and has come in many communities for many years, since ancient time. And so you can do a ritual, you can just make one up. We had community rituals, but we're in such fractured times and fractured tribes that many people don't have access to community knowledge. So you can use the energetics of elements, so water, earth, fire, and create a ritual of your own. And that's what I did for my family. I started thinking about the grief that I held as a woman and the grief that was maybe in my line. And so my family and I just, it was my siblings and I several years ago, just created a simple ritual where we wrote our grief on pieces of paper. We tied that paper to a stick and we threw it into a river as a symbolic release of our grief. And there's an energetic movement when you do this. So you could, for example, write on paper and you could burn it, you could bury it this is called The Importance of Grief Rituals. For centuries, women have performed grief rituals to acknowledge and clear community grief. A memorial is an example of a grief ritual for the death of an individual. However, without regular release through community grief rituals, most grief remains unmourned, its energy trapped and burdensome. And I would say too, we're kind of in a grief time right now. We're active, we're losing a lot of things are transforming, and so grief is an active process that we need to be going through right now so that we can prepare for the way ahead. We need to be acknowledging, we need to be grieving, acknowledging the losses, feeling the losses, and moving the energy of that so we can be prepared for the next phase and be prepared for what's coming in. Back to the story. In an effort to address my own grief and transform the lineage that I pass on to my children, I made a grief ritual for my family. When we gathered for this ritual, we covered a long stick with strips of paper holding the words of our grief. Then, to symbolically release our grief, we threw this stick into the Great Columbia River. As my brother and son tossed our grief-laden stick high into the air, a single piece of paper fell away. So again, you have to imagine there were so many papers tied on this because we had done multiple pieces of paper and I had done some channeling for my lineage, but only one piece fell off. We gasped as it floated nearby. With so many papers tied on and layered over one another, only one message of grief had fallen from the bundle. I snatched it up, wondering whose it could be, only to recognize my own handwriting. I laughed out loud, faced with my own grief. Quickly, I tied my grief paper to another stick, threw it out again, but it only went a few feet. Still unsatisfied with where it had landed, I plunged into the water and plucked out my grief and hurled it into the air. My family cheered as my lone stick caught up to and sailed past our group stick. "Ha ha!" I called to this grief, feeling victorious and relieved all at once. Imagine the river full of sticks like ours, all of the grief being acknowledged and released, said one person. We watched our grief float away until there was nothing more to see. My uterus ached as if I had given birth. I had released the energy of my grief. That night, I dreamt I was back in the river giving birth to a white ball of light. I set this light into the water and heard the voices of women singing. I awoke with these words in my head. Now I too can sing. Grief is a natural and purposeful response to any life-changing event. When it is allowed its expression, it brings a liminal or altered state that reorients a woman's path, inviting her to go deeper within herself. What was known previously is no longer true. The grief process strips away the extraneous, energetic, and otherwise. Moving her bodily grief ultimately facilitates the creation of new beliefs and structures that will better assist a woman on her life journey. So I invite you in this time, this liminal state that we're in, where rules have changed, the normal structures do not apply, where you may be grieving and you may be now also in place, faced with grief that has just been kind of stagnating, and maybe you didn't notice because you were moving quickly, and now that you're still, it's coming up. And just take the time, maybe even with your families, and do a grief ritual. It can be simple, and I even do this with my teenage sons, and they participate, in their own ways, but it's important to do this and move the energy so that we can be prepared, and so we can release what no longer serves us, so we can set down our burdens, and we can make space for the new potentials that are coming in, the new invitations that are coming, the new ways of being. We know that we're being permanently changed here in this time, so use this spaciousness to release some of the patterns that no longer serve you, to take time to mourn and grieve past griefs, ancestral griefs, family griefs. You may not even know what you're grieving. And it will help you make space for the way ahead. It will help you receive the information that you need in this time. You'll feel clearer on the other side of that grieving process, and it will give you medicine, energetic medicine, spiritual medicine, healing for the pain of the past. And I think also our earth is grieving, clearly. We haven't treated her very well, and there's a lot of reorienting back to the knowledge that we are intimately tied to